Hello my friends and welcome to my channel. Thank you for visiting my channel again. I have to apologize first because it is quite a long time since my last video, but unfortunately the geopolitical situation here at the Romania's border is not the greatest one, and I was not in the right mood to create motor vlogging videos. I have other projects ongoing, but today is a special day because Mini V-Strom has 20,000 kilometers, and because my ownership experience and riding experience was a very good one, an interesting one, I decided to share with you because who knows, maybe you are interested how the V-Strom 250 behaves after 20,000 kilometers. For those of you who doesn't saw my first video at 10,000 kilometers, I don't know if I could recommend it because it will be redundant. I didn't change my mind. My thoughts are almost the same. I hope the wind is not ruining again the recording, because this is the third attempt to record this video and I'm running out of time. So, I didn't structure my review extremely. In fact, I didn't structure at all. I bought this motorcycle from Austria in 2019 from an Austrian dealer. It was a very good deal for me because in that period I was in search for a Honda CB500X or maybe a Kawasaki Versys 300. But when I find this motorcycle at the Austrian dealer, it was at a very good price. I bought it and I didn't regret at all. So 20,000 kilometers with the V-Strom. Let's summarize very quickly without any issues. I didn't have any problems, technical problems. The bike behaves absolutely like in first day. I dropped the bike a few times, and once this caused a problem, but was my fault, and the brake lever was broke. This issue turned out in a very good solution because at that moment I replaced with the original lever, but as soon as possible, in a few days, I bought this aftermarket clutch and brake levers, adjustable and foldable. If you drop the bike, the lever will go up, not down, as some are afraid, and you manage to ride the bike again if you are in the good condition after a drop. It is an affordable bike, good looking bike. I like the way it looks, and as I told you in the first video, I get all the time compliments regarding how the motorcycle looks, and even the more experienced riders didn't recognize the model, or if they saw the V-Strom they knew it is a Suzuki, but they appreciate the engine and all they think it is a 650. The tank is great, 70 liters, provides a lot of range. This summer I would like to take a test from full to totally empty to see how much kilometers I can achieve with a full tank. The gas price is not good. I assume it is the same situation in your country too, if you don't live in Hungary or in Russia. I hope you don't live in Russia now. Back to the topic. Another thing that I like is the display. Very good display. I ride the bike very often with passenger, with pillion, my daughter or my wife, which are the same height, and the bike managed to carry us, but not in a sporty manner, and I have to plan every overtaking, and I have to be very cautious. In fact, I'm over cautious when I ride with my wife or with my daughter because problems could happen and I don't want to be responsible for anything. So anyway, I ride very slowly with them. But for your information, the bike can handle pillion riding with some luggages if you know how to plan your ride and your expectation. Don't expect to push to ride on the highway with passenger at 130 kilometers, because in fact the top speed of this bike reached by me was 136 kilometers on the speedo, but in fact in reality on GPS is lower, something like 130 kilometers. It is known, it is a fact that the Japanese bikes over appreciate a little bit the speed, but for me it's perfect. I don't want more speed. Yeah, if you are riding alone, you can maintain on highway, let's say 120 kilometers constantly. If you get used with the engine noise, the engine is a little bit heavy, and for someone like me who listen the engine sound and I don't like to push the engine too much, I say 120 on highway. It will, for longer rides, it will be the maximum speed. The consumption, as I told you, it is very good. 3.2, 3.3 liters for 100 kilometers. You do the math in gallons. The wind protection on this bike is adequate. With the original windscreen, the stock one, I added the extension for the windscreen and the protection is improved, yeah. But in fact my problem is not with the windscreen, it is with my helmet. It is a very noisy one. The peak catches the wind strongly, heavily. This is one of the other reasons why I don't like to ride very fast, because at 120 kilometers constantly on highway, this helmet is very annoying, yeah. I don't like to wear earplugs because I want to hear the traffic, but in fact I can't hear the traffic because the helmet is very noisy. With all of this, I like the helmet. I will don't change my helmet soon. So, regarding the wind protection, it is okay. The other protection, I had to make some improvement, yeah. After a few bike dropping, I decided to buy a Suzuki V-Strom crash guard, which is great. I think after installing the crash guard, I dropped the bike once, only once, low speed, something like this, and has no issues. So I can recommend highly the Suzuki V-Strom crash guard. I saw different models from India or China. I didn't like the welding, the quality, and the price was similar. Also, for an improvement, I attached these small bags here. They have dual purpose. I have some rain gear there and some hinges and things which I like to access very quickly. But the second purpose is also protection. All of this, the small bags here, the rear bag, the top box, how do you say, alter a little bit the consumption, yeah. I accept an increase of consumption because if I think back, without those I had better consumption, yeah, for sure, but now I appreciate the practical purpose of these improvements, and the aesthetical one, not the performance. Talk about the sitting position. Despite the fact I have 181 meters or 6 foot, I could ride a higher bike. This is low bike, yeah. It is very good for short-legged people, girls, why not, women. But I feel myself very confident when I put my plainly and my knees are flexed a little bit or not stretched. I'm sitting very comfortable on this bike. It is not a very comfortable saddle for long touring rides. I have a cycling background and I'm used with saddles, with narrow saddles, but after a few hundred kilometers it is good to take some pauses. My wife doesn't complain about the pillion seat, it's comfortable, the handle is very good. The position is for the pillion is okay. Let's mention now a little bit the minuses, or let's say the negative issues. At this moment I can't find a good brand of tires which produce off-road mixed tires. Let's say 70-30 or 50-50 is too much. 70-30 it will be enough for me. I can get a brand of tires who provide perfect size for rear and also for front. And I know it is optimum to have a pair of tires from same brand manufacturer, same compound of rubber, but in my situation I had to buy one front tire from a brand and the rear tire for the other. I am pleased, the tires are tready, very good grip. I don't know if I had to mention the fork, because it is a very standard normal fork without any off-road capabilities. You have to be very careful, not adjustable. Yeah, the rear shock absorber and the spring is preload is adjustable, but nothing special. I made once the setup and I'm very fine with this. The light provided from the front light is great. I don't have any issues. I ride sometime in the dark. I have plenty of light. What I changed is the bulb. Yeah, now I have an Osram bulb which is much more brighter than the original one, and the light is some kind whiter and bluish. When I bought this bulb, everybody told me that it's not very reliable because it doesn't resist too much on shaky roads and on vibrations. But now I had almost 2 years without any problems, knock on wood. In these 20,000 kilometers I didn't make any intervention, any repair to the bike, only the regular inspection and oil changes. I used to try different brand of oils, Motul, Castrol, and now I'm back to Motul, and my overall experience that the Motul 7100 it is the best, the full synthetic one is the best. I had some oil consumption issues which I mentioned in the first review at 10,000 kilometers, but now I know it was due to the Castrol oil. The formula oil, it was not the good one for this, and now I don't use it anymore. The oil interval change, it is another negative issue, let's say so, because at 5,000 kilometers it is a little bit too often compared to a Honda, let's say, where the oil changes must be done at 10,000, 12,000 kilometers. Yeah, but this is the result of the high rev engine. It is normal to change the oil a little bit often. So I changed the oil, the filters every time, and I changed the rear brake pads, because when I changed the tire, the back tire, it was obvious the brake pads are gone. But gone absolutely, yeah? I will show you some images. I changed the brake pads. It was very quick procedure, very easy. I didn't clean or replace the air filter until now, 20,000 kilometers, a little bit more. Maybe at next interval I will replace the air filter. Also, I will not check the valve clearance. I'm not interested. Yeah, the engine is running perfectly. I adjusted the chain, and I am pretty sure I will ride at least 15,000 kilometers with the same chain and sprockets, and only after 35,000 kilometers I will consider to replace the whole set. Yeah, or if I see some problems until then, I hope not. I knew I forgot something, and I didn't mention the vibrations. The engine is a low vibing engine, and I like it very much. When I made the last maintenance to this bike, when I changed the brake pads and the oil, I decided to first paint the bash plate, because it was worn out a little bit from the rocks, a little bit of rust came out. You will see some images. And at that point I decided to paint the exhaust also. I had some rust points on the exhaust. I thought I will refresh the look of the bike, and I did it. I cleaned the muffler and I polished it, I sprayed, but when I put it back on the bike I made a little mistake. One spacer, rubber spacer or something like this, from the nut which holds up the exhaust, I inverted. Yeah, I put it inside or outside, I don't know. At that moment the engine became very vibey. In a very short time, in a ride, let's say after a 20 minutes ride, my right hand become numb, a very nasty feeling, and I knew this is not normal for this bike. What could happen? First, I assumed that the bash plate also have some spacers, some rubber spacers for the crash guard. I assumed that the vibration came from there, but in fact it was a little spacer, a grommet or something like this, rubber grommet inverted, which I mounted, I don't know, on the inside, on the outside, the nut, and replacing in the right position solved the problem. And now when I was at a longer ride, I had no issues at all. So it is very important to you to check if you put back everything in the right order, because a slight modification can create some discomfort. I don't have in plan to make other investments in the bike. The bike doesn't need any other investments, only gas, time, and riding disposition and willing to ride. And I hope this summer I will do some rides, and I will illustrate it for you. I make a promise from this. And the first video after this will be a Transalpina ride, which I made, one-day ride on the highest mountain here in Romania, Mountain Pass. It is interesting, and I will share with you a little bit later. I don't have too much time to edit the videos. Your time is precious, and I don't want to make you to waste your time watching my long silly videos where I glorify this motorcycle. I think I summarized very briefly the riding experience with this bike, the technical problems, which are almost none, the accessories which I bought extra, and yeah, if you have any questions regarding the bike, please write me in the comments. I will answer you as quick as possible and honestly as possible. So, at the end of this video, I wish you a great summer to all of you, with fantastic rides, vacations all over the world. Now, without COVID, it's much more easier to ride. Try to stay safe, enjoy your rides, and from time to time just check my channel for new videos. All the best to you all. Bye.